As we continue to celebrate the confirmation of the first African American woman to the Supreme Court of America, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, it is only fitting for us to also remember and celebrate the first ever African American to break the color barrier in America's highest court. Thurgood Marshall was appointed the first African American to the Supreme Court of the United States on the 13th of June 1967. Welcome to the Sankofa Pan-African series. Have you subscribed to this channel yet? Please do so if you have not already done so. And don't forget to turn on your notification buttons. Also, please continue to support us through Patreon or by buying me coffee. Our legend today, Thurgood Marshall, lawyer, civil rights activist, and the first African American member of the U.S. Supreme Court. Thurgood Marshall was born in Baltimore, Maryland on July 2nd, 1908. His father, William Canfield Marshall, worked as a railroad porter while his mother, Norma Arica Williams, was a teacher. Marshall developed interest in debating and law when his father took him and his brother to watch court cases. Their father also encouraged them to debate what they had seen and current events. Marshall credits his dad for teaching him how to argue by challenging his logic on every point and by making him prove every statement he made. Thurgood Marshall attended Frederick Douglass High School in Baltimore, from where he graduated a year early in 1925 and placed in the top third of the class. He then attended Lincoln University, a historically black university in Pennsylvania. He graduated with honors from Lincoln University in 1930. After being rejected by the University of Maryland Law School because he was not white, Marshall attended Howard University Law School. He received his degree in 1933, ranking first in his class. At Howard, he was the protege of Charles Hamilton Houston, who encouraged Marshall and other law students to view the law as a vehicle for social change. Charles Hamilton Houston also helped shape his views about fighting discrimination. After graduating from Howard, Marshall began a private practice of law in Baltimore. Among his first legal victories was Murray versus Pearson in 1935, a case which challenged the University of Maryland for violating the 14th Amendment's guarantee of equal protection under the law when they denied an African American applicant admission to their law school solely on the basis of his race. In 1936, Marshall became a staff lawyer of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP. In 1938, he became the lead chair in the legal office of the NAACP, and 2 years later, he was named chief of the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund. Throughout the 1940s and 50s, Marshall distinguished himself as one of the country's top lawyers, winning 29 out of 32 cases that he argued before the Supreme Court. Among them were Smith versus Allwright in 1944, in which the court declared unconstitutional a southern state's exclusion of African American voters from primary elections. Another notable victory was Shirley versus Kramer in 1948, in which he challenged the state's judicial enforcement of racial restrictive covenants in housing. He also argued and won Sweat versus Painter and McLaurin versus Oklahoma State Regents, both of which were decided in 1950 on the separate but equal facilities for African American professionals and graduate students in state universities. However, it was Marshall's victory before the Supreme Court in Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka that established his reputation as a formidable and creative legal luminary and an advocate for social change. Today, students of constitutional law still study the arguments of the case and the ultimate decision of the court from both a legal and political perspective. Legally, Marshall argued that segregation in public education produced unequal schools for African Americans and whites. And this was a key element in the strategy to have the court overrule the separate but equal doctrine, which had been established in Plessy versus Ferguson in 1896. It was Marshall's reliance on psychological, sociological, and historical data that sensitized the court to the negative effects of institutionalized segregation on the self-image, social worth, and social progress of African American children. These are the kinds of reasonings that have brought us to know and recognize what structural racism is today. Thurgood Marshall died on January 24th, 1993. Thank you for watching this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notification buttons. Also, continue to support us through Patreon and by buying me coffee. Thank you.